Go ahead.
All right, welcome everybody to our February 9th, 2021 Village of Rhinebeck board meeting on a snowy day in the Village of Rhinebeck. I hope everybody got shoveled, their sidewalks, their fire hydrants, their driveways, and if you had to travel, I hope everybody was safe today in getting in and around wherever they had to go. So again, welcome to the meeting. We'll get started here, and I'd like to lead off with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. Next on the agenda is public comment. Martina is on the call. If somebody wants to make a comment, please raise your hand. Martina will let you in. Please state your name and please limit your comments to 3 minutes.
I'm not seeing any hands raised.
Okay. All right. No, see any public comment for this evening. Martina, did we have anything in the email for comments?
I did not.
Okay, thank you very much. So no comments submitted to our media.admin. All right, moving along. It's not often we get to celebrate an occasion like this. So we're going to do a little bit of maneuvering here with the camera so I can get people into this, but we have some special guests here with me at Village Hall this evening, which I want to recognize for their contribution to the Village of Rhinebeck. So bear with me while I get set up here and we'll get going. How's that look, Martina? Are we good?
Perfect.
Okay. All right. Mask on. Are guests ready? Yeah. Guests are ready. Okay. So first, I'd like to ask Mike Wolf to come. And Mike is here with Karen Lake. Hi, Karen. How are you this evening? Karen, you can come in as well.
Hey guys, how are you?
How are you?
Hey, Mike.
Long time.
Can everybody see everybody? Are we good?
Yes.
All right, so I don't know where to begin.
I don't know.
Can I go back 4 years, maybe 5 years?
Sure.
All right, when we first got acquainted.
It's been a journey.
And oh boy. Yeah. It's just been a wonderful journey. Let me just tell you that. It's been a wonderful journey working with you, Mike, at the helm of our highway department, leading the charge. I mean, you didn't have any problem getting in today, did you?
No.
Right?
No.
This is kind of what bring back old times coming in a snowstorm, or were you looking around to see what kind of job was done? Were you
Yes,
kind of looking at the roads?
Yes, I was. Yes,
All right, so how'd we do?
I'm satisfied.
I'm glad to hear that. Well, Mike has been with us for 28 years.
29.
29. Oh, I'm sorry. All right. And, you know, when Mike first started talking many years ago, and I've said this before, it's always, everybody approaches this, and I'm going to say retirement, in a different way. Mike really has been thinking about this for a long time. And I know that these decisions are sometimes very hard. And I think you had a hard time making this decision.
I did.
Yeah. You were like family, right?
I like the job. The people were superb. I mean, I just can't say enough good about you guys.
Yeah, thank you. and we can, same thing here with you leading us, the knowledge that you have of our village, really made things well, made things operational smooth, and we hope we can live up to your reputation going forward. There was 3 things I asked of you while we were going through this process. Do you remember what they were?
Make sure you're happy,
Yeah.
financial secure.
Yeah,
I don't know what the third one was.
medically fit.
Medically fit.
And I will tell you, Mike did all 3 of those things. He went diligently through each one of those steps to make sure that he was ready for retirement. And then one day he walked in and said, I'm done, I'm ready. When the clock, when it hit, it was good.
Yes.
I'm extremely happy for Mike. So Mike, there's a couple things we'd like to give you. One, you missed the opportunity to get a village map. All right.
Thank you.
I promise you. Mike retired at the end of the year, by the way, and we've been trying to figure out how to pull this all together because there's one more person
Thank
to
you.
do this, but it's difficult during this time of pandemic. So, Mike, a mask for your safety and for Karen's safety as well. Mike and Karen, you've been able to put up with him while he's around?
Yeah, it's all right. We get along.
I have one more thing.
Uh-oh.
One more thing for you, sir. And this is kind of special.
Oh, look at this.
So, Mike, I don't give these out for no reason at all, right? But if you can see here, this is a plaque, Mike Wolf, recognizing his years of service for the village of Rhinebeck, and how appropriate for somebody who has been taking care of our roads, managing everything, to also get the key, right? So congratulations, Mike.
Thank you.
I hope, you think of us often
I do.
and come back and visit
I will.
as you go on.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
How about a round of applause for Mike?
Congratulations.
We made it.
Any parting words?
Be safe, be well, and keep up the good work.
Yeah,
Thank
very
you.
good. So thank you, and Karen, best of luck to both of you in your future.
This is
I
great.
know that, you have a lot of things that you're working on, both here and in Tennessee.
Oh, yes.
And someday I hope to be able to visit you while you're down there as well.
You're welcome to.
You're
You're all welcome to.
And take advantage of, the
this is
opportunity to extend our friendship beyond the village into our personal life.
You got it.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. May I have the box? Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks, Mike.
It's been fun.
Okay, the next person is John Raimondo. John Raimondo, please come forward. How are you?
All right.
Nice seeing you again.
That's great.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody.
John
Good
took a
time.
totally different approach to retirement. One time he said, I'm thinking about it. Next time he said, well, I bought a truck. I think I'm going to hang out for a while. And then he walked in one day and he said, you know what? It's time to retire. Just like that. So that's what I like about retirement. It's everybody, it means something different,
Yeah.
right? And for John, he knew when he was ready and he made that decision. And you're ready to move on. You have a lot of properties to take care of.
Yeah.
Management, you're a busy person.
Looking down south now, South Carolina.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Whereabouts in South Carolina?
Greenville.
Greenville. Very good. Excellent for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thinking of maybe moving? Wow.
About a year or so.
Well, one thing I will say, one of the determining factors for John was he came in and he says, I don't want to live through another winter here. I hope you can all hear us well, right? Because, John really did a lot around Village Hall. He maintained not only our infrastructure here and making repairs and cleaning and making sure Village Hall and the firehouse side and the police department were all kept neat and orderly, right, throughout his tenure, with us. And then he would also pitch in and help at the highway or wherever he was needed. So, there was a lot in a storm like today.
Yeah.
John would have been out there maintaining the municipal parking lots, shoveling our sidewalks, cleaning up around the building, and doing a lot of work for us, which was, something we've missed.
Right.
We've missed a lot. All right. So we miss you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we want to recognize your 21 years of service.
Yeah.
For the village of Rhinebeck,
Thank
which
you.
is phenomenal. That we have people who have stayed with us this long. I love it. Right. So we also
It's a good
want to
place.
recognize you with a plaque.
Oh, thank you. It's a great place to work.
And again, I think these only go to special people like yourself who have dedicated their service.
When they carry the keys.
Yeah. And John
Carry the keys for
physically
everything.
carried the key for everything in Village Hall. So John, thank you
Thank you.
for everything you've done. Here's a little bit of our token of appreciation
Thank you.
for the work that you've done for the village of
Mhm.
Rhinebeck.
Thank you so much. Thank you all.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can I get the boxes?
You can have the box as well.
Take care.
All right, so that concludes our special ceremony for this evening. I'm very happy, and it's always a sad occasion, but a happy occasion as well, when employees like both Mike and John, who contributed so much to the village, have really made that next step in their life. So our appreciation goes out to them both. Okay, I'm back. Welcome, everybody. Okay. You're welcome to stay. No, they're taking their plaques and leaving. What can I tell you? Stay in touch, please.
God bless you. Thank you.
God bless you all. Excuse me a minute. I gotta get my composure. Two great people. I'm happy for them, but sad as well. Okay. Next. Brennan, glad you could join us this evening. You are next on the schedule for an update from our county legislator, Brennan Kearney.
Yes, well, and I wanted to also say that as a former neighbor of Village Hall, John was always such a nice and smiling regular face on the block, and he will be missed very, very much.
Yeah, we haven't replaced him yet.
I know. It's hard to do, isn't it? It's hard when you have a relationship that long, but a great neighbor. So, but I just wanted to let you all know the major news I have for you is that last night we voted in the legislature, and I was a yes vote as well, to approve a bond which will allow us to move forward with upgrades to the Duchess Stadium's lighting, clubhouses, and batting cages. The most expensive part of that project is the lighting. And this is because we anticipate this is the final step in securing the Hudson Valley Renegades' new affiliation with the New York Yankees. Sorry, Mets fans, but Yankees fans, hopefully you'll be happy. The Yankees needed those lights in order to use the stadium. That was their standard, and so we weighed that very carefully. As you know, fiscal decisions are not taken lightly right now, but I am pleased to announce that. So hopefully when that's finalized, we will now have a 70-game season, no longer just 35. So that is the good news, and that's about it. I know I owe you a question about the stabilization center emergency response. And I don't have that for you yet, which is why you haven't heard from me, but I have not forgotten. And if anyone else has any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them. All right. Well,
Thank you, Brennan.
you're very
Thank you.
welcome. Thank you all for having me.
Yep.
Bye.
Stay off the road this evening, please.
Yes, indeed. Indeed.
All right. Okay, all right, next on the agenda is we have a guest from our engineering, Ty and Bond, who has been working very closely with our trustees, Vanessa Bertozzi and Rick Lewitt, on our green infrastructure grant introduction. So Brandy Nelson, are you there?
Hi, good evening.
Hi.
How is everyone?
Hi, Brandy.
Good.
Good, good. I wasn't sure if either Vanessa or Rick wanted to lead off the discussion, but I'm happy to give a summary of where we're at, and it looks like I'd be able to share screen to run through the project as it has been scoped out and then reduced down to try and give us some range of budget options. So Gary, how would you like me to proceed there?
Well, I'll leave it up to Rick and Vanessa. Is there anything you guys want to say to lead in before Brandy starts sharing?
She needs no introduction.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that, just to reiterate for those on the call from the public, this is for the vote tonight will be to consider whether or not to move ahead with a grant application. So we do not yet have the grant. This project is a feasibility study. It's a concept plan. There will be opportunity for the community to voice opinions of the actual design. So we're not like locked into this design, but we needed to have something to move forward for the application.
Okay. Brandy, you're up.
All right, so it looks like what I am struggling with right now is how to share.
So the three dots, I think, up at the top or at the bottom of your screen.
Yeah, let's see. Share. I did this in my browser, which is a little different.
I gotcha. You know, I don't see a screen sharing mode. Breakout rooms.
I got it.
There it is.
that's
Share
like right
content.
next to
Okay,
Share
great.
content.
I haven't done it from browser mode yet, so I apologize, everyone. Sorry about that. Okay, so just real briefly, want to just go through the scope of the project. So we discussed this at the January meeting, and whoops, let's see what happened. Okay, sorry, I can't move anything. I hope you can all see on your screen a section of South Parsonage Street running from East Market Street over on the left side of the screen to North Park Road on the right side of the screen. Can you see that?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, fabulous. Good, we're in business. So at the January meeting, as Vanessa said, the board authorized pursuit of an application that's being offered through the Environmental Facilities Corporation for a Green Innovation Grant Program, which is focused on projects that can improve stormwater quality through the implementation of green infrastructure practices. And at that time, we had discussed that there might be an opportunity to pursue the installation of green infrastructure and achieve multiple objectives, including improvement of water quality and some streetscape improvements along a segment of North and South Parsonage Street from East Market Street down to North Park Road. And that's what I've got shown on the screen at the moment. And I'm going to see if I can make it a little bit bigger so people can see it. So the existing roadway there is shown on this plan in front of you. And what you can see from the plan, you probably can't read the numbers on it, but the roadway there is quite wide. There are traveled lanes for driving in that are 12 feet wide, and they're defined by a yellow center line and white fog lines. And then beyond the fog lines are paved shoulders, and those paved shoulders provide for some informal on-street parking, as well as some informal pedestrian way, as well as some swaling of road runoff. And due to the fact that the Landsman Kill, which I'm indicating with my cursor, flows from the east to the west towards Crystal Lake, there's a bridge over the Landsman Kill on South Parsonage Street, and the roadway from North Park to the bridge slopes downward, and the roadway from East Market Street to the bridge slopes downward. So that road runoff right now flows untreated into the Landsman's Kill. So given that opportunity for improving water quality, this looked like a location that would be a potential good recipient for this Green Innovation Grant. With the wide roadway, your pavement width ranges from about 41 feet down to about 33 feet, which is really quite wide for a roadway. Wide roadways tend to encourage people to travel faster, and it also is more costly to have to repair when you've got to pave a much larger roadway. So what we looked at is, let me just go down to the next screen. Hopefully it will load. All right, so hopefully this has loaded, and you can now see the same roadway with some Green Street improvements on it. Can you just let me know if you can see that?
Yeah.
Okay, super. So in talking with Rick and Vanessa, we talked about scoping out a project that would allow for a reduction in the overall pavement width along South Parsonage Street, and replacing the pavement width with porous asphalt or porous pavement sidewalks, tree lawns, so a space between the edge of the roadway and the sidewalk, and the planting of stormwater street trees. And so what we looked at initially was providing for that streetscape to occur on both sides of the street. So the east side is the top of the page, the west side is the bottom of the page, and running the length from North Park up to East Market Street. For the portion of North Parsonage Street between East Market and South Street, that is a one-way currently to accommodate the school buses. And in that instance, there's a missing section of sidewalk between two properties. And the roadway width there is 28 feet wide, which is for a one-way road very, very wide. Typical traveled lane is 12 feet. So there is an opportunity there to decrease the amount of impervious paved surface and create a tree lawn space that would offer an opportunity to allow stormwater to infiltrate into the ground as opposed to run off and pool in the intersection, since the village doesn't have any formal drainage infrastructure in that area. So for the section of the roadway between East Market and South Street, we're showing a reduction in total roadway pavement width. This 20 feet that would remain is adequate, more than adequate, to accommodate the school buses that are there traveling in one direction. It's also more than adequate to accommodate any emergency service vehicles, and it would be wide enough to afford for some continued on-street parking by the residential properties that currently abut that segment of the roadway. Continuing from South Street down to the Landsman's Kill, we're showing on both sides of the road a reduction in the overall roadway pavement width, leaving the 12-foot traveled lanes, so those would remain paved. And then there would be a curb that would be installed and these stormwater street trees, as well as porous pavement walkways beyond that. And that can all be done within the existing road right-of-way with no need to acquire any additional land from any of the residential properties that are adjacent. The stormwater street trees, I'll just explain those real quickly. So what we do when we design stormwater street trees is we've learned over many years that the type of tree that you locate in those areas is very important because they have a very stressful location for existing. They're usually in areas that have intense sunlight, heat being reflected off the asphalt pavement, as well as sand and salt from winter plowing activities. So you need a hardy tree. And where you can provide the tree an opportunity to really get an established root system, you can do a couple of things. One, you can ensure the health and longevity of that tree. And also you can provide an opportunity to prevent future sidewalk heaving by creating basically for lack of a better term, we would call it a pit of structural soil that has a blend of both organic matter and sand that helps accommodate stormwater runoff and also provide an adequate space for a tree to reach its full size at maturity. And we find with using these structural blends of soils, not only does it really function well from a stormwater standpoint and provide an opportunity for the tree to uptake, but because of the specialized soil properties, it limits the amount of heaving that occurs long-term in your sidewalk areas, which I know the village is very familiar with sidewalk heaving due to mature street trees. So we're showing on the west side of the road a smaller tree because there are overhead power lines on the west side of the road from South Street down to the Landsman's Kill. And on the east side of the road, we're showing a larger tree. The tree species is to be determined at this point in time, but we're just showing that the trees could be installed at about a 25-foot spacing down that roadway. And I think, we had talked last time about working with the tree committee on that, but we just wanted to get it down on paper so you could have a sense of what it would look like. Crossing over the Landsman's Kill, we're not proposing any improvements or changes to the bridge itself. And Vanessa and Rick have been engaging with the town with regard to the bridge and how this activity, if it moves forward, will connect to the bridge and maintain the walkway that currently exists on the bridge. But going from the Landsman's Kill to North Park Road, on the east side of the road is the Lions Mini Park. And currently what happens on the road shoulder is that there can be parking that is on street from North Park Road down to where there are a number of parking spaces installed. And it's a little bit of an informal parking area, but from what I understand, people do tend to park there during school activities that occur during the school year, I guess, when we're all gathering again at some point in the future. Also existing at that intersection is a stormwater pipe that collects drainage from the intersection of North Park and Parsonage Street. And currently that water just discharges into the park and then kind of finds its own path down to the Landsman's Kill. In addition, the paved parking area at the Lions Mini Park doesn't have any stormwater controls on it either. So what we're proposing for the segment between the Landsman Kill and North Park Road would be to, in addition to installing the reduced pavement width, the stormwater street trees, and the permeable pavement sidewalks, is maintaining a certain amount of on-street parking, so 3 parking spaces would remain. That's approximately from the utility pole that's right by the walkway that goes into the park, and maintaining the parking at the park, the head-in parking there, providing for handicap accessible parking, and then providing a permeable pavement walkway that would wrap around the parking so that people do not have to walk behind cars to get over to the existing pathway. We'd also propose to include the installation of 2 bioretention areas. And a bioretention area is just a planted rain garden. It's a little bit bigger than a rain garden, but it accommodates stormwater runoff, and it treats the runoff by filtering out particulate and providing soil surface to allow for the treatment of stormwater quality. Bioretention areas are typically planted with perennial plant species, shrubs, and small trees. So it tends to be a landscape feature that can manage stormwater. So we're looking to provide 2 of those. One would capture runoff from the small parking area, and the second would capture the untreated runoff that's currently coming from the intersection. What we did from a process standpoint was take a look at the site characteristics here, as well as what property the village controls, and selected these practices, the bioretention areas, the permeable pavement, and the stormwater street trees, to try and match up a number of the different criteria, both for the funding, but also to meet the village's objectives under the Climate Smart Community Program. So we think that this project provides a great opportunity to install green infrastructure in support of the Climate Smart Communities objectives, as well as be a showcase for the type of infrastructure improvements that could occur at various locations in the village where we know we have existing drainage problems and there's no municipal stormwater infrastructure to connect to help manage some of those drainage problems. So I think part of our process is to see what's available, what are the village's objectives, what practices will work, and then lay that out on the site, see how it fits, make some adjustments, and then of course we have to come up with a concept budget. So we did go ahead and put together a budget. What we ended up doing for budget purposes, just sort of wanting to give the village a range of options, so we broke the project out into 3 potential phases. Let me see here if I can switch to the little hand. Phase 1A, I don't know if that's too small for folks to see. Let me see if I can zoom in. There we go. So we've defined phase 1A as the top of the screen. So this is the east side of North Parsonage Street from Park Street, continuing all the way to South Street. So it would be the improvements of the bioretention area, permeable walkways, stormwater street trees, the parking area at the mini park, the walkway through the mini park, second bioretention area, and then crossing over the Landsman Kill and continuing up to South Street, stormwater street trees again, and permeable walkway to go from South Street down to the mini park. So that's phase 1A. Phase 1B is the pavement reduction from East Market Street to South Street. So that's just reducing that pavement width down to 20 feet, providing curbing, stormwater street trees, and a larger grassy island space for stormwater management. And then phase 2 would be the west side of Parsonage Street from South Street down to North Park Street. So that's how we've broken it up into 3 different phases. Zoom extends here. Oops. Okay. So looking at the costs, what we've done is we've put together a concept level estimate based on the concept level plans that have been prepared as part of the feasibility study for the grant application. And this and the feasibility study and the drawing I was just showing you are all part of the application for the Green Innovation Grant Program. So let me just zoom this back. Bigger. Can you guys see those numbers okay?
That's
Big
good.
enough? Okay. So phase 1A, again, from North Park to South, just the east side of the road. So that's the mini park side of the road. We're looking at a phase 1A cost of $485,000. 400, let's call it 486. All right. That includes things like site preparation, removal of the existing soils, their demolition of the existing road section, improvements to the roadway, pavement markings, new bollards, and also the new permeable pavement sidewalks, as well as the structural soil and any geotextile stabilization fabric, and then the landscape piece, the bioretention areas, street trees, and site restoration in areas that are disturbed through the construction activity. We've also included relocation of one utility pole, just anticipating that there may be a requirement there. We might be able to work around it, but there is one utility pole that is a little bit too close to a permeable pavement walkway. This number includes general conditions. That's sort of the contractor's mobilization, demobilization, insurances, and bonds. So that is as a percentage of the construction subtotal, as well as a typical rate for overhead and profit from the contractors. And these are all costs that are figured based on prevailing wage rates, which is a requirement for village projects. And then because this is a concept level estimate based on a very high level concept plan, there's a 40% contingency. And what that allows for is the actual design, permitting, bidding, and construction observation, construction inspection, as well as a construction contingency that we would include at this point in time based on the level of design that's been completed. So again, phase 1A, $485,700. Phase 1B. So again, phase 1B is the pavement reduction and addition of stormwater street trees between South Park Street and East Market Street. Similarly, removal of existing materials, a restoration of that area with growing medium, adding a segment of permeable sidewalk, adding the trees, the similar general conditions, overhead and profit, and the similar contingency. That section is $224,200. And then for phase 2, again, the west side of the road from South Street down to North Park again, similar permeable pavement, stormwater street trees, $361,600. So, you know, looking at the overall master plan for Parsonage Street, it would be just about $1.1 million for design, engineering, permitting, construction, and a construction contingency to do the entire street. In talking with Vanessa and Rick, we thought that it might be most practical to really just look at the phase 1A. And if I can get to it, we'll zoom in there, just so you can see what that would look like. So really just focusing on the segment between North Park and South Street, there is you know, the opportunity for sort of a critical linkage for pedestrians to get from South Street. There's no existing sidewalks there currently. This also is sort of the headwaters point for any sort of drainage improvements, sort of that last point before it discharges into the Landsman's Kill, where you could have some stormwater treatment. But also the improvements can occur within the highway right-of-way and in the park, land that is controlled by the village. So it affords a nice opportunity. I think there's also an opportunity for public engagement with a project like this. It's a demonstration project. Lots of folks, lots of young people go through the park. And so there's a really nice opportunity there for the village to tell a good story about green infrastructure. So that's an overall overview of the scope of the project, the proposed budget, and where we're at this evening is just to have a discussion about what the board is comfortable with and what you would like us to pursue as far as an application under the Green Innovation Grant Program. So I'd welcome any questions that you have. But I'm looking for feedback for the scope of the application and the budget that the village would like to pursue in that grant program. And just keeping in mind that the grant is due on Friday the 12th. So we'll take whatever information we get from the village tonight, and we'll finalize the feasibility study, and finalize the costs, and put all of that into the application and make the submission by the deadline. So I will stop sharing.
Thank you so much, Brandy.
Yes, indeed. So, Brandon, I do have a question about the phasing and the grant process. If we phase the project, is that going to require 3 different applications, or can we do one application now saying we'd like to do this in 3 phases? And sort of sever, you know, if we decide we've done phase 1 and we don't want to go to phase 2, we can sever it. How is that done?
So typically you would want to apply for only what you would be willing to do and complete in the near term. And we can talk about, you know, what kind of schedule the near term is, but we can say it's part of a multi-phase project, but we would only apply for the first phase.
Okay. And
Brandon, this is Gary. I have a question. Is there a time frame for when this, if needs to be done, if the grant was awarded?
So one of the grant application questions is, what is the schedule for implementation? Typically, the projects are completed within 12 to 18 months of grant award. That's what EFC likes to see. They like to see that you take the grant money they provide you and move towards implementation of a project. That said, we have seen grant extensions up to 3 years, so you know, another 18 months. Typically, there's some reason for that. There's maybe a water main improvement project that needs to happen first, and you're just wanting to sequence things so that there's not conflicts in projects. So.
And I think to reiterate that this would be a 75-25 match. So 75% of the cost of the project would be covered by the grant, 25% of the project would be covered by the village. That does include in-kind labor. And Brenda, I think that was mostly on your cost estimates. That was really 1A, B, and C, largely. When we spoke earlier, you said it was a good idea to have the best contribution of in-kind labor for the village is to have us basically do the demolition and some of the early site preparation.
Typically, that's what municipalities we work with feel comfortable doing. It really depends on the highway department, but generally demolition is a great place to have the municipal forces assist by providing the in-kind match. Yes, I agree with that.
And would the cost fairly be represented in 1A, B, and C?
So the cost that I provided in the opinion of probable construction cost consider not your they consider prevailing wage rates, not whatever rates you're paying. But typically with grant applications, the state will ask you to track the time and the value of the equipment that is used and seek reimbursement in that number. So your overall construction costs would come down, but your in-kind would be a function of the hourly rate for any equipment plus the rate that is paid to any of the village employees that are working on the project. And that can range from, highway department individuals as well as, maybe someone in Karen's office who's helping with grant administration.
So Brandy, does that count towards our 25%?
Yes.
Is there like a maximum to the grant? Could we theoretically apply for all 3 phases, or are they limited in somehow?
They're not limited, but I will tell you they're offering $17 million statewide right now.
Okay.
And typically we see awards in the several $100,000 range. Every once in a while, you'll see a much larger award for a real key project, but I would say customarily we see awards more in the several $100,000 range.
Got it. And is this something that, do you have experience seeing, when a community gets phase 1 approved, and a few years later they come back for phase 2 or phase 3, is this something that they usually frown on or that they're usually excited about?
I will caveat it by saying it depends on how well the first project goes. So if it goes well and we demonstrate being effective stewards of the state dollars, definitely there are opportunities for additional grant funds.
Okay.
So Brandy, at 500,000, are we over the reasonable threshold for maybe being successful?
I don't think so, because again, the amount of the grant in that case is going to be $375,000. So 125.
So they look at the grant number, not the total project number.
Correct.
Okay.
And that 40% contingency, if we come in under, obviously they give us less money. If we come in over, do they give us more?
No, typically they're capping the grant amount at whatever the award value is. Yes.
Okay.
I think if I can just speak about the project, I think one of the things that really excited Vanessa and myself about the whole project is that this does several things simultaneously, some of which we've wanted to do for a long time. And that really is the construction of the sidewalks and basically building the connector between the Lions Park and South Street. It'll really finally afford a way for people to walk, either kids to walk safely to school, people from the south side to have an easy passage up into the village. It's something that has been discussed for a long time, and it seems like using this grant, leveraging the fact that we can put in green infrastructure, reduce the amount of pollution that's going into the Landsman Kill, and create what looks like a safer and effective passage through that area. It just seems to be a terrific opportunity. And I would include in that the addition of the handicap parking, rerouting the path so you don't have to walk through the parking lot when you're coming down the pathway there. I've always found that a little sketchy at times. So I think that with this grant, we get a lot of bang for our buck for this project. It really solves or addresses a number of problems or a number of areas that we've wanted to address for a long time. And I appreciate Brandy's design really for coming up and being able to, when we walked and talked over the area, we spoke kind of holistically about what are the village's needs and what are the stormwater needs and all the parts. And I feel like Brandy did a wonderful job of knitting all of that together.
Yeah, I'm going to echo that. I think, the heaving sidewalks with the tree roots, I know that Meg Crawford and the Tree Commission, they're excited to see how the structured soil would make a difference there. I also want to note that we have a couple exciting letters of support. One from Dr. Feldman, who is the Marist Professor of Environmental Science and Policy. His students have been collaborating with the village on studying flooding and erosion along the Landsman Kill. And this sort of project is exactly fitting and in keeping with their project. So there's opportunities to build in the furthering of that research and what it means for keeping our water clean and our environment healthy. Likewise, Superintendent Albert Cousins from the Rhinebeck Central School District will also be submitting a letter of support because the Lions Mini Park is right there, right by the high school and middle school. And this could really be a hands-on, experiential learning opportunity for STEM or STEAM learning opportunities for students who are interested in green infrastructure and engineering and design. So I know Brandy mentioned this being really one of the focal points of community, one of the few green spaces that the village has. It's a great place to bring together people who want to get an idea of what the future looks like with these sorts of approaches.
And I'll throw in one technical note. The reason why the bridge is not included is because in New York, towns are responsible for bridges and culverts within the town, no matter where they are. So that bridge isn't ours, it's the town's.
Can we do anything? I mean, is there anything that could be done on the bridge to continue to resolve this environmental problem that we're trying to sort through that we could work with the town on?
I mean, there are some grates on the bridge where rainwater just goes straight down. But if it's just rainwater, it's not carrying that kind of silt and pollution that we're concerned about. So the bridge itself is not really the issue
The problem.
Here. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good.
And the town has also agreed to write a letter in support of the project as well.
All right. So how do you want to move forward? How do you want to move forward with this? I mean, it's a deadline, and so this is up in the voting section where we need to, if everybody's done with their question and had enough information, right? Vanessa, Rick, how would you like to proceed?
Well, I'd like to make a motion that we authorize Ty and Bond to complete an application for the Phase 1A section of this project and have it submitted by Friday.
Second.
Okay, now again, we'll open it up here again for discussion based on the motion. My first question would be, is there any penalty for applying for the grant? And if you get awarded the grant and we look at it a year, when the grant's awarded and say, listen, we've gone through our fiscal budget and we don't have enough money to do it, is there any penalty for declining?
Not that I'm aware of.
Brandy, do you have any comment on that?
I'm just trying to think of an instance where I've experienced a municipality declining, and I can't think of one. Generally the state is looking for applicants who want to engage in the project, that feel like they have the resources to make the match portion of the project, and will be good stewards of the state grant fund. So I would suggest that if we're successful in getting an award, that one approach would be to structure the schedule to give the village adequate time to maybe raise the additional funds in the sidewalk program or what have you, to create the capital necessary for the match, and that we look at creatively approaching the construction to identify where the in-kind services could be offered to offset some of the actual capital costs.
Mm-hmm. And I will say that, again, we talked about this at the last time when we awarded the engineering fee, which we took out of our sidewalk capital reserve. There is still approximately $40,000, I believe, in our capital reserve for sidewalk development.
And
that would leave a balance of what, minus the 71,000, minus the 45, minus, just say there's 40 to $31,000 that we would have to secure between now and the phase of the project. Am I right in that?
Cash.
Cash.
Right. I think that sounds about right. given if we really maximize our in-kind contributions.
And if we want to use the capital reserve fund for sidewalk development.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If I may, also just for consideration, so let's assume that the state makes awards in June. There's typically a period of time between the announcement of the award and the actual execution of a contract with the state, during which we're not going to be able to incur any costs related to this project. So let's say that takes another month or two, that puts us into August. Then we would start with the design. And the design is just a portion of that cost. That is something that you would seek reimbursement through the grant program for. And then you wouldn't want to go out to bid until you had the funds secured for awarding a construction contract. So, I would say at the earliest, this would be a spring 2022 construction project. But there may be some opportunity to push that to fall 2022 to get you into a different fiscal year. But I think you want to keep in mind that the day you get the award isn't the day you need to come up with the match.
Vanessa and Rick, do you want to take comments from the public if there is any?
Sure.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So again, we're going to open it up for public comment. Martina, will you assist us?
Yes, I will.
Okay, no, I'm not seeing any public comments to be made. So let's move forward with, if everybody has all of their questions answered, I'd like to move forward with the vote. And we'll do it in order as we have before. Trustee Nuneker.
Actually, Gary, I do have one question. Not ready for a vote. We had, and I'm Karen, this is really for Karen. We had authorized a $450,000 bond that was going towards the street work over on Mulberry Street and some other projects. Have we exhausted the money that's in that bond?
Hi guys. Hi Rick. I think there is probably about 80,000 in that account, and we would have to go through and separate what part of that belongs to water and what part of that is highway. I also wanted to let you know that along with this section being close to the Parks and Rec, there is $44,000 in the capital for Parks and Rec as well. So.
Yeah, I mean, Rick, if you add that, if you recall, we did the Mulberry was 177,000, and the overage for doing the entire paving on Livingston, Chestnut, and Platt was 293. So 293 plus 177.
That's a lot. That does numbers aren't right.
Is 470. So we're already over the 450, really.
Well, that can't be. Karen just said we had 80 left.
So that right.
Well, the 80 is going to water. Then is what I'm getting at.
Right.
Okay. So then.
Right.
So there really isn't anything left there. It looks like.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
But we have Parks and Rec and sidewalk.
Right.
I mean, I feel bad. I'm going to vote against this just because it's a close call for me, and I know that we would get a generous grant, but I feel like that 140,000 could be, if we went to sidewalk improvements or something that we had more tangible. I understand the environmental piece is very important, but it would go directly to public safety. And I mean, I feel bad but I don't think I'm going to vote for this. I like it. It's going to be great, but it's so expensive right now, and the economy is really bad.
Grant, what are the sidewalks that you think are on your priority list?
I don't really have a priority list for sidewalks because we don't really have the $140,000. But what I'm saying is, if we did have $140,000, then I would put it towards something like that. So, I mean, I think when we get to budget time, we're gonna have some real tight decisions to make.
Well, I think, Gary, you've had some projections on what's going to be coming from the county and other stuff.
All right, let's try to move this along a little bit.
Okay.
All right,
So-
so Trustee Nuneker,
A nay.
Trustee Lewitt,
Aye.
Trustee Bertozzi,
Aye.
Trustee Slavy,
Aye.
and Mayor Bassett, aye. Okay, so we're gonna, and I'm basing mine based on the fact that we have time to figure this out through our budget cycle, and we also have time to address this, you know, if we don't get the grant, or if we do get the grant. It may not be looked upon kindly if we decline, but, you know, we don't even know if we're gonna get the grant. And I think we should try, for the grant.
Agreed.
Okay, motion
Again, it's
passed.
a close call for me. Sorry, Vanessa.
Okay, thank you, Brandy. Thank you,
Thank
Vanessa and
Have a
Rick
good
for all
evening,
your work.
everyone.
Thanks, Brandy.
So Brandy, you'll get us everything we need to get in by the 12th.
Yes, sir. We are working furiously on that, and we've been coordinating with Martina.
Very good. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda, community police reform. I've been bringing everybody, been keeping everybody up to date on what's going on with our community police reform. Before I get into the item, I just want to make a reminder, I'm going to reverse the order, that we currently have a survey, a police reform survey that is out and been distributed widely. I believe, Rick, we had last count 187 respondents so far. You can approximately, you don't have to look up.
We're over 200 now.
We're over 200 now. So that's good information that we're getting in. And we have also been holding our community police reform public forums. And we had the first forum on Monday, February 8th from 10 to 11. And our next one is scheduled Wednesday, February 10th, which will be an afternoon at 3 to 4. And the last one will be Thursday, February 18th from 7 to 8 p.m. And these meetings are all set up and have been distributed. And we're also working on trying to get a Spanish public forum set up as well to do this. So again, there's been a lot of good work happening in terms of our police reform committee and getting forward to, which my lead in, which was we need to set a public hearing date for the output of the committee, which I shared with all of you previously, has not changed, going forward. But if we get new information as a result of the public forums and the survey, that will be addressed by the committee and then brought forward and added to this for our public hearing. One of the major components that we're working on for the public hearing is, if you remember, we talked about Lexipol. Lexipol is the firm we hired to take all of our policies and procedures and bring them up to current state level mandates and digitizing and making all of that available. Sergeant Dunn is proceeding along very well with that. It's still a very, very tight schedule to do that, but in mind that we can use that because the policies and procedures will have now been brought up to state level in terms of all of everything we want to do, including the new policies and procedures that we'd want to put in. So it's taking the old, making sure that's new, and then Lexipol also will take any new ones that we want and add that into our policies and procedures for our public hearing. So having said that, we're on a schedule for April 1st to get this to our governor's desk. And I would like to make a motion to set a public hearing at our next village board meeting, which is March 9th. It's our next village board meeting. Do I have a second? And then we can discuss.
Second.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion?
So you would just have this go prior to our regular scheduled programming? Yeah.
Yes, I think that would be the wisest thing to do, is to start our public hearing at 6, and then upon completion of the public hearing, go into our village board meeting, which is
And will
something
there-
that we've done in the past.
Right, and will there be any presentation, or is it, with the announcement of the public hearing, we will include the draft policy proposals?
And so we've shared the draft policy proposals already. And if there's increases or additions to that, and a link, hopefully, I'm knocking on wood, that we have then the link to our Lexapol, which will be able to share the exact wording associated with them. And that's the target date we're working for on the police reform, to share that information. So our goal, yes, Vanessa, short answer, yes, we're trying to make that all available. Okay, any other discussion? We'll do a roll call, set a public hearing of March 9th, 2021, starting at 6 p.m., preceding our regular village board meeting. Trustee Nuneker?
Aye.
Trustee Lewitt?
Aye.
Trustee Bertozzi?
Aye.
Trustee Slavy?
Aye.
Mayor Bassett, aye. All right, public hearing set for March 9th, 2021. Thank you. Okay, 2021 village election. Martina,
Yes.
I'm going to turn the stage to you.
Sure. Give me one moment. Okay. So the first thing to talk about would be whether or not the board would like to appoint the election inspectors that I have selected. Give me one moment so I can get that list. So I spoke with 4 individuals, 2 of which are Republicans, 2 Democratic, who are willing and able to be election inspectors for this year's village election on March 16th. The first would be Donna McGann, Republican, Joyce Meyer, Republican, Gina Fox, Democrat, and Christopher Tavener, Democrat.
You would like a motion to appoint?
I'd like to make a motion to approve those folks
Do we have a second?
for the election.
Second.
All right, we can do this, it looks by raise the hand. All in favor, raise their hand by saying aye. Aye. I see all hands up. All right, approved.
Yay. Thank you. So the next thing, let's go back into this, would be whether or not the board would like to proactively mail out applications for absentee ballots. If you would like to do this, a resolution would need to be made that's specific to this election. And with that, I did call up Minuteman Press in Red Hook to get an estimate of how much that would cost us. So I gave them a guess of 2,500 absentee ballot applications, as well as a letter to explain what they would need to do. Minuteman Press also gave me a quote for envelopes, return envelopes, and then printing the voters' names, stuffing and sealing, and mailing it. So that quote actually came out to $1,480, but that doesn't include the postage, which I guesstimated to be an additional $1,300. If we don't use Minuteman Press, the other solution would be that I would have to send out roughly 2,500 absentee ballot applications, which I have no problem doing if that's what you would like me to do.
But I would like to comment on that, Martina, because it's not that simple, right?
No, it's not, no.
That requires hand typing 2,500 individual addresses, right?
Yes.
Because we have We don't have addresses in the form of labels or anything that we could use to print out, and Martina would have to basically create the labels to put on envelopes for every address.
As well as put together each envelope and mail them out myself.
So Martina, I have a question.
Sure.
This sort of been like a hacky sack, but the when you do the request for an absentee ballot, there's a box that says disability, illness, whatever.
Yes.
Is the latest and greatest law or executive order on this that you could check that box over the COVID, fear of the COVID?
Yes. So it was
voting
amended.
in person.
While the application itself has not been updated to flat out say COVID, if a person was to get an absentee ballot application for fear of contracting COVID, they would just mark off temporary illness, because that has been amended to include either having the virus itself or fear of contraction.
So as a practical matter, people don't it's not a tough hurdle for people to request an absentee ballot from you.
Well, I would still need one. Yeah, regardless, I still need, if anybody wants an absentee ballot, I need an application, and it has to be a signed original copy submitted to me before I can send them out a ballot.
Martina, if we didn't do this, what would be what would we do? What's the alternative?
The alternative is people either coming and voting in person or just on their own volition asking me for a absentee ballot application, similar to the last election. I plan on making another public service announcement to explain to people what they would need to do for that.
And what else could we do to get the word out that this is an available option to people who don't want to vote in person?
Again, similar to what we did last election, just make an announcement about it, send it out to all of our platforms, and sending out that public service announcement. It's pretty similar with any other election. It's just the major difference is that COVID is a valid reason under temporary illness. So it's just reiterating that to people.
And Martina, did the PSA that you filmed, did that go in Panda?
It did.
Okay, great. All right.
And Martina, I assume we can make a PDF of the form downloadable from the village website and
it should already
other
be
spots.
there. Yeah,
I'm sorry?
It should already be on there.
So somebody can download their own form, fill it out, and return it to you.
Yes, they can mail it to me. They can deliver it in person. They can put it in the Dropbox as long as I have the signed original copy.
Okay.
And I think it's significant that every March 17th or 16th, 18th or whatever, that there is a village election. So it's kind of common knowledge out there that there is an election. There is this time of year.
Correct. So nothing has changed. The process itself
Right.
is exactly the same.
Martina, do you recall how many application requests we got for the last election?
I want to say
How many?
At least 50, I believe. I'd have to double check that.
But we also have a standard list that we mail to, correct?
We do. So once I get the voter registration list from the Board of Elections, there are automatically people who have already registered as absentee voters. So that list is probably at least 80 people of ones that I automatically have to send out.
I mean, I think if we make the absentee ballot application widely available on the web through various information sources, I think that's pretty easy for people to get it. I think some experience says that the return rate for these for mailing out the absentee ballot request forms, the return rate is quite low, and then people who actually vote absentee is even lower than that. That to be a pretty small fraction. So I think
If
we're
we-
talking.
If we were to mail out roughly 2,500 applications, I doubt we would see close to that many come back.
Right. Well, and then the question is how many people actually vote or just wind up voting in person. And so there's significant drop-offs at each level.
Right.
So we're talking about $3,000 to probably chase 100 votes or something like that. I think we can probably, if we make this just widely available, it's more efficient.
Yeah, I think 100's even high. I just think that's people will have plenty of awareness about the request for an absentee ballot if they want to get one.
And Martina, if they call Village Hall, will you send them one?
Absolutely.
Okay. So like
Yeah,
the
there's
only ways
multiple
to get
different
it,
ways, yeah, that they
right?
can
So it's not
request it.
just electronic. Like they don't have to have access to a computer or a printer in order to
No.
get it.
No, they don't.
Okay.
And the Village Hall is not the only place that has absentee ballot applications.
Okay.
So like the Board of Elections would have that. Certain parties may even have the application. So you can find the application in multiple different places. And you know, I'm always there to answer any questions about it.
I think we should just make a really concerted effort with your PSA, which everybody loved the first time around, and other information sources to get the word out that this is available, that COVID is concerns about COVID. There's a perfectly valid reason in New York to request an absentee application. I think that's doing our jobs.
Great. Hey, Martina, I know that we're kind of battling our website at the moment, but if we could make whatever decision we make right here, if we could make the absentee ballot application like more obvious somewhere.
Yes.
I'm not seeing it on the homepage. So
now it might be under the village clerk's page. If it wasn't, then it was posted when the announcement was posted. But yes, I would like to make it more prominent.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
It should be on the landing page, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So do we have a motion here?
Do we need one?
Yeah. Because we're going to either spend money or not spend money.
So I like to make a motion that we don't spend the extra money to send out the request for absentee ballot to every person and go the traditional route.
Second.
Whatever that is, however you describe that.
Rick, second. Okay. Let's just do it by roll call. Trustee Nuneker.
Aye.
Trustee Lewitt.
Aye.
Trustee Bertozzi.
Aye.
Trustee Slavy.
Nay.
And Mayor Bassett, nay, but still 3-2. Okay. All right. We'll go that route. Thank you. Okay, moving on. Highway MEO position, Trustee Lewitt.
Okay. We have, I think as we noted last meeting, we have an opening down at the Highway Department for an MEO. We made the announcement of the availability of this job within the local union available. Nobody from any of our own departments applied. We then broadcast the availability of this job to the general public. We had 2 applicants. The first is Dante Knox, who's been working with us for about 1.5 years now, and he's familiar. We also received an application from Mr. Wade McReynolds. So Scott Min and I interviewed Dante on Monday and had a very nice discussion with him. Scott was not able to participate in the interview with Mr. McReynolds. So I did that today on Zoom. Basically, long story short, Dante's been with us. He's a terrific character. We like him. He does a very good job. When I spoke to Mr. McReynolds, he is really a heavy equipment operator. That's really his background. He's a member of the operating engineers. And he was looking for a starting salary, which we could not meet. And I had that discussion. He was $65,000 plus. So given that, and he understood that just as this job we're not paying that much money for this job. He understood that. I would like to suggest that we select Dante Knox to become our new employee for the highway MEO position at the same salary rate that he's currently receiving. Basically, he would receive his salary, but now be eligible for all of the benefits that come with union membership and civil service membership.
Is that a
Second.
motion or a suggestion?
That's a motion.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, thank you.
All right,
And-
any discussion?
Yeah, and I'd say that I have had a discussion with Scott Min, and he is, very much in favor of this.
And
I'm in favor of promotion. Sorry.
The only comment I want to make is that it looked like the other applicant, it was kind of a skills mismatch for us. With his heavy equipment skills, he was looking for a different type of job. We're not building highways, right? And I think if we were building highways and into that heavy construction, we would have been looking also for a different skill set. So,
Yeah. The gentleman, we actually had a really nice conversation. But he's a member of the International Union of Operating Engineers, and so his experience is really large equipment, and going to operate a mower wasn't really high on his list again.
Well, and our guys are on the other handle of a rake and shovel a lot.
Yeah.
That's our heavy equipment sometimes.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
when we discussed it, and he totally understood, he's like, I threw my name in here, but in this discussion, I'm really not that interested in the job.
Okay, any other discussion?
From what I understand, Dante's qualified, and we like him, and I like promoting from within. So.
Okay. All right. So again, we'll do roll call. Trustee Nuneker.
Aye.
Trustee Lewitt.
Aye.
Trustee Bertozzi.
Aye.
Trustee Slavy.
Aye.
Mayor Bassett, aye. Welcome Dante Knox to full-time employment for the Village of Rhinebeck Highway Department. Congratulations.
I'm gonna text him right now.
Our HR director, Martina, you will get in touch with Dante right away?
I sure will.
Thank
Yes,
you.
I will.
Perfect. All right, salt brine, Vanessa. Let's talk
Yeah.
about our last pilot.
Right. So we had our first trial run with brine, which is basically a saline solution used to pre-treat the roads in preparation for a winter storm. What it accomplishes is it uses less salt. That's less salt that's running off into the environment and into surface water and into drinking water. It's also a savings because it's just using less salt. It's about 25% of the salt that's otherwise used in its crystalline form. So we contracted with Dave's Tree Service to try it out on the village streets. And mechanically things went well. But this was a storm where the snow came down pretty heavy. So the brine, Scott Min's feedback was that the brine didn't work that well. And when we talked to Dave about it, he was saying, well, he was really trying to just skimp a little bit because we had ordered 800 gallons. And he thinks that putting down more brine, slightly more brine, would be more effective. So as we've been saying, this is an experiment. This is to try out if it makes sense in the village roads. There's some discussion about whether it really makes more sense in roads that are more high frequency traffic, more volume of traffic, higher speeds of traffic. And so what I would like to propose is that we do a second trial run and approve the cost of the brine and Dave's Tree Service to run a second test and see how it shakes out.
The one thing I also noticed is it seemed like
Wait,
they
Brant, can we have a second since Vanessa made a motion?
I'll second.
All right.
That's right.
All right, Brant.
It just seemed like they put it down super early, like well early the day before, I could see the brine streaks. I don't know if they can try to more closely approximate when the storm is going to start. I don't know if it got diluted because of that also.
Yeah, that could be the case. So, I mean, the reason why I think it's good to do a few trial runs is because there's so many variables, right? There's the temperature, there's the moisture on the road surface versus the air. There's how swiftly the snow is falling. And then there's also the rate of the application. So it's a lot of variables, but I think I would like to see us give it another shot before writing it off. And the other thing to mention is like this. In the end, if we think this works for us, it's just one tool in our toolkit. It's not going to replace our usage of road salt. There are other techniques that we are going to layer in here to bring down our salt usage for that cost savings and to benefit the environment. So it's just overall reducing the amount of rock salt that gets put on the roads. And was just talking to Rick about this. There's also basically wetting the rock salt as it gets dispersed, and that reduces the amount of bounce and scatter off the road surface. So there's a lot of different techniques to manage.
Brandon, in answer to your question, the recommendation is usually 24 to 48 hours in advance. And that's just a recommendation, but all the variables that Vanessa mentioned could factor into that for putting it down. Because you want it to be able to, from what I've been told, what we've been told is that you want it to have on the road surface for a while so that it gets moved around into the road as well, because it is a salt application. So I know, again.
I did want to mention that I've heard from several members of the community that they're asking about this. They say, oh, how is the brining coming? And people are interested. They see this as something that is beneficial to the community to try this out. So that's in part why I'm advocating for it.
It certainly is a technique that has really taken off and is used in many, many places. And I think as I'm learning more about it, the application can be a little bit more of an art than a science, because there are so many variables you try to control for them: proper temperature, moisture content, application rates. But it seems like when you have the right mix at the right time, you can really get some nice results in terms of improving safety, maybe reducing some plowing, using less, putting less calcium chloride or sodium chloride into our lakes and our streams. Overall, it can be very positive, very positive.
Vanessa, I'd like to make an amendment to the motion. I'd like to, in order to save on the volume of amount that we need to purchase, I would like to, and based on the experience that we had, that higher traveled roads seem to flare better, I would like to amend the motion to say I would like to have another pilot, but limit it to our high traffic roads that we identified in the first round, rather than trying to cover all of village roads. And therefore we could not have to go for the higher volume, stay with a lesser volume to cover those roads. So, it's like South Street, Mulberry, Astor, Montgomery, Knollwood, et cetera.
I think that's a good idea.
I'm sorry, who was the second for the original motion?
Vanessa, was that a second?
Rick was the second.
I was.
Okay.
I didn't remember.
All right.
Well, Dave.
Any other discussion? Okay. How about I think we can do this. Raise of hands. Everybody in favor, raise their hand by saying aye.
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 Thank you.
Oh, no opposed. Martina, it's unanimous to go for a second pilot. And we'll use the same thing. Again, we'll be using Dave. Is that the plan? I should have asked. Right.
Yes.
All right, Vanessa, benchmarking resolution.
All right. So energy benchmarking basically means tracking your energy usage for municipal buildings. It also involves going out and actually measuring the volume of space that you are heating or cooling. Energy benchmarking is one of the high impact actions under New York NYSERDA's Clean Energy Communities program. Passing this resolution means that we're basically promising to make public our energy usage annually and to be transparent about any sort of energy reduction that we're able to prove through sharing that information. Now, Karen already does this in the New York State report where Chrissy and Karen are already tracking our energy bills into a spreadsheet and reporting that annually to New York State. So there's already the muscle memory of the practice of tracking this. The difference will also be, instead of just a spreadsheet, we'll be using a tool called Energy Star Portfolio Manager, which is a free web tool that NYSERDA recommends we use. And we're basically tracking kilowatts per hour. And so what this does in passing this resolution is it gets our fourth high impact action under this Clean Energy Communities program. And that means that we will be a designated clean energy community. Hooray. That also means that we are then eligible to apply for a $5,000 grant, as long as that grant goes towards additional energy improvements. Then we get that $5,000. No questions asked, except that it needs to be used towards furthering our energy goals. So that could be building improvements to reduce energy costs and greater efficiency. It could be for a solar project, EV charging stations, purchasing an electric vehicle for municipal use, and or other greater efficiencies on our municipal buildings. So I would like to make a motion to approve, to pass this energy benchmarking resolution.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Yeah. Discussion.
I do have a question, and it's the difference between price and actual energy usage. And I'm just not sure if Karen and what's done now. Obviously, it's easy to report the costs of what our bill is, but it looks like we have to actually report gallons of fuel oil used, kilowatt hours consumed, probably gas that we chew up to. Is that stuff already being tracked, or would that be in addition to simply the cost of all these things?
We do currently track that.
Okay.
But this report was limited to, I thought, electric consumption, which is in kilowatt hours. Is that correct, Vanessa?
I don't think so.
No.
I think it's overall. No, I think it's overall.
Okay.
So, I mean, kilowatts is a big one because that's all the electricity bills. And yeah.
Okay.
So
I don't know. We had a discussion about kilowatt hours versus kilowatts. So I wasn't sure. All right. Any other discussion?
Karen, did you have a comment?
I just wanted to say that currently we do track the kilowatt hours, we do track the gallons, we track the fuel oil, the heating fuel, the diesel fuel, the gas that the trucks use. And I definitely commend Chrissy on this because every month that she does the bills, she goes in and fills out that spreadsheet with what was spent as well as the usage. And so we do, and it does help at the end of the year when we have to report all that to the comptroller's office with our report, so.
So this is information we're already recording.
Correct,
Adding it into a new set of boxes.
correct.
We're adding it into a new set of boxes, and we're going to be publicly reporting it. So it's part of our sustainability plan and our efforts here to share with the public what we're spending our taxpayer dollars on, burning a lot of fossil fuels. So that's another aspect of it.
I mean, I hope
Vanessa,
it's going to be, go ahead.
I was just going to ask where we report it. Is it on the Climate Smart website? Would it be on the Village website? Is it sort of, where does it go?
Yeah, I imagine that we would put it up on our Climate Smart website and also send it out as part of our newsletter. I would submit it to the board annually.
Okay.
And then there may be other requirements under Climate Smart Communities. This is something that's also an action under the Climate Smart Communities program that we can also get points for if we submit.
All right, we have a first and a second. Let's take a vote. Let's do it by raise of hand and aye. All in favor?
Aye.
And aye.
Aye.
No opposed? Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Grant, pump replacement quote.
So this is the, at the Village Green, we have 2 submersible grinder pumps that the idea is that they have to pump it uphill until we get to the point where it can gravity feed into our wastewater system. We've had problems with the debris getting in there, and it's really worn down these pumps. They have been doing service calls, actually going in there and pulling. You have to pull the pump all the way up. It's like way down in this pit. It pulls up on these rails, which are basically pipes. So each pump has 2 rails it slides up. One of the pumps needs to be replaced. So the idea is to replace it with a new pump, take that pump and overhaul it, and keep that as a redundant in our inventory. So that would require that you replace the submersible grinder pump. You guys have seen the price list, right? I think it was included. The check valve, the valves would have to be replaced. The rails have to be replaced. Now, in addition, what we do so we can have a solution here is we have a basket that catches the debris before it gets into the pumps. So that would require a new basket and its own rail. So you can raise, and you could actually raise it like once a week and clean it off. So the scope of work is described as enter the pump pit, replace pump 1 with the new pump, and bring to the shop for rebuild. Install the trash basket on the new rail system, install new guide rails and access hatch, enter the valve pit, replace both check valves and plug valves, install existing floats on new float brackets, and ensure proper operation. So the one thing I forgot to say is that the hatch is also needs to be repaired and replaced, and then the concrete lid kind of thing that surrounds it structurally needs to be redone. So we have a total price of around $20,480, $7,152 for labor, and then the rest is parts. But this is something that really needs to be done, and hopefully we have a solution for having problems at the apartments, the Village Green apartments. Now, just so everyone knows, we choose to operate these influent pits because we have control over it, and when we own them, and then we also have to pay for upkeep. We have one at Astor, we have one at the hospital, we have one here, and is there another one somewhere? I don't recall, but the reason why
that we don't own, right? There's
what's that?
There's a couple that we still don't own, like at Tops, and
Tops,
the one,
yeah, that's a great water
the one out at the Gardens. Don't we don't own that one either, do we?
Gardens is Gravity, I think.
Is that Gravity?
The Woods, they have their own thing too.
Right,
Yeah.
the Woods.
So
That's it, Woods.
we have control over these things, and we have control over keeping our system from failing because we have the ability to control what gets into our system. So that's why we own these influent pits. So what we would get out of this, we take this pump out that's failed, and we rebuild it, and then it's a redundant. We have it in our inventory. It will only go back into the Village Green apartment. It's not replaceable with other grinder pumps that we have throughout the system. So, but then we have that rebuilt, and then we have a backup.
So I'd like to make a motion that Brent reminds everybody not to flush baby wipes.
Yes, please. And COVID wipes or the bleach wipes. I think that's probably the real problem is the bleach wipes because people are home and they're sanitizing everything. So yes, neither one of those things should be flushed. Only paper gets flushed.
And Brent, one question. One thing is, you noted that you would be replacing the guide pipes for the pump.
Yeah, they're bent or they're being obstructed. They need to be replaced.
Okay, so that's not my question was, that's not an issue with the back compatibility of the old pump after it gets overhauled. It'll still fit into place.
Yes.
Okay.
And the basket will require its own new rail.
Right.
So.
Brand, I have a question. There's only one bid. Is there a reason?
We couldn't even get two. This is, much less three. Yes, this is the only bid we could get. And it is kind of a specialty thing, so.
So you did go out and try it. You did it.
Yeah, we tried like heck to get more than one.
Okay.
How are the finances and wastewater lining up to be able to handle this?
Well, I'm kind of new at wastewater again and haven't gone through a budget yet, and that's why I asked Karen to opine on that.
Yeah, they're in good shape. They can handle this repair.
All right,
It sounds like there'll be a savings and not having to always go over there and fish it out.
You go over there, it's really a pain you have to lift. This month we had to lift the pump and clean it off, bring the pump all the way up. And this time, now moving forward, all we'll need to bring up is the basket, and clean the basket off. So it's much better.
All right, so Brand, are you making a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to accept the Eamons Metro LLC bid as submitted.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? Show of hands, all in favor, say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
Opposed? Lydia, you seem to be froze, so I'm not sure.
Oh, I'm an aye. I'm an aye.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Approved. All right, special request, fall marathon. This came in early. This is a traditional fall half marathon, I believe. And it's from Running Away Inc. by Matt Laik, who currently lives in Florida but is moving to Massachusetts. And he coordinates this half marathon with the village of Rhinebeck every year. It's on October 10th, usually always in and around the October timeframe. He had a discussion with Sergeant Dunn already in terms of getting his approval. I also met with him, and my only, I'll just put it right out, my only condition on him is to be subject to whatever COVID requirements he would have to meet if we are still in a pandemic in October. He would have to comply with that restriction, which he will. So I'd like to make a motion to approve Runaway Inc.'s half marathon on April 10th for the village of Rhinebeck. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? Okay, show of hands and aye, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Approved. Rick, tree removal request.
Okay. The village received, the tree commission received one application from a resident, Warren Steinberg, to remove a tree on his property. The commissioners went out and viewed the tree. They agreed that it is time to remove the tree, and they suggested that the village board approve the removal of this tree, given all of the proper using a licensed arborist and all the other proper safeguards that are supposed to be in place.
So Rick, a question. He asked for trimming, but we're asking to be removed. Is he okay with removing?
This is, I believe he asked for removal.
I gotta go back and reread. I thought the way I read the application, it was to trim limbs.
No, it's the limbs are that's the reason for the removal.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
I stand corrected.
Okay. Yeah. So I'd like to make a motion that the board accepts the tree commission's recommendation for the Steinberg tree at 12 Chestnut Street.
Second.
Second by Brandt. Show of hands and aye. All in favor? Aye. I don't see anybody opposed, so carried. Rick,
okay.
while you're there, do you want to talk about the Central Hudson trees as well, or do you want to wait for your tree, because we should vote on those?
Sure. Let me do one thing first. I just want to say that the tree commission has been in touch with Mr. Steinberg, and they are talking about, because this big tree is coming out and the spring planting will be taking place on Chestnut Street, that there is an opportunity to plant maybe 1 or 2 new trees on Chestnut Street. So one is going out, hopefully we'll be able to replace it. Yes, and so the other issue is that Central Hudson is doing their quadrennial tree maintenance in the village. And they've determined that 4 trees should be removed rather than simply pruned. Basically, these trees are in conflict with utility wires, and when they finish the pruning, basically the tree will no longer be viable. So the utility would be cutting down the trees, but they would leave the wood on site, and I'd recommend that our highway department would remove whatever wood they leave behind. The trees are a spruce on Astor Drive. It doesn't have a specific address because it's on the south side where there aren't any houses. There's a maple at 161 East Market Street, a walnut at 107 Montgomery Street, and a maple at 6282 Route 9. The tree commission agrees that these trees should be removed and that notices should be sent to the homeowners of coming tree work. So we can approve these trees. Central Hudson will be removing them sometime in the next 3 or 4 months.
So Rick, I have a question about those spruce on Astor Drive.
Mm-hmm.
If this is an area where that sidewalk goes up through, or I'm trying to, well, that if it's in that sidewalk area, that is all owned by the Woods.
Okay, so I'll have to notify the Woods then.
The Woods have responsibility for those trees.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll have to notify them, but it must conflicting with a utility wire wherever it is.
But
so that's.
I'm just telling you, they need to be notified.
They need to be notified. Okay, so
they need to be notified if that's where the tree is. It was hard to tell based on the description.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, Rick, are they Norway maples or are they non-Norway maples? Do you know?
Off the top of my head, if you give me a sec, I can look it up if they marked them as that way. They probably are.
Okay. I mean, no need to delay this, but
yeah. No, I mean, and that's one of the issues that the Norway maples just don't last in this environment.
Rick, are the homeowners aware of the ones that are on their property yet?
Not yet.
So shouldn't we have a homeowner recommendation before we approve this?
Well, Central Hudson's going to go ahead and do it no matter what. I mean, they're going to prune them. And the question is, are they going to leave a non-viable tree, or or they just have them take it down all the way?
Does Central Hudson normally notify the homeowner?
I think when they show up.
Okay. So this is
the word sign is the notification.
Yeah, no. Unfortunately, on my list, I just see maple. I don't have any maple.
That's okay.
Any additional information?
That's okay.
I don't want to be like Central Hudson. I don't want to show up and take the tree down.
Right. So we'll have to. We'll have to figure out who the homeowners are and send them a letter. That's going to be done through parcel access.
If one of them is really, upset about it, we could, I don't know.
Well, I think the idea
People
is
like their trees.
People like the trees. I actually had a discussion with the forester from Central Hudson, and we actually went through a big list of trees, and they will be pruning a whole bunch. But basically, his opinion was if we go ahead and prune these trees, they will no longer be viable trees.
Okay.
So take them down. That's not there. There are plenty of other trees that have present and conflicting issues, but would still be viable trees after pruning. So that's the issue here.
Mm-hmm. Rick, just, the last time, well, not 4 years ago, but Central Hudson came through and did some what they call hardening on one of the lines that went down South Street and then also turned down onto Parsonage Street a ways. And they identified several trees at that time. And what we did was we contacted all the homeowners and made them aware of it and got their input into this before we moved on it. I'm just leery of taking action on somebody's tree without having the owner be aware. I'm just telling you, that's my opinion.
Okay, in a way, well, we're sort of in a hazy spot here because it's not really our action. Central Hudson's going to prune them one way or another.
I get it, but again, it's.
They're not Central Hudson's can be for a while. If we want to hold out, we can send out the letters, and certainly can get input from the from the various homeowners or the various landowners in this case.
I would like to amend the motion to say that that approval of Central Hudson trees pending the homeowner's approval. Because if the homeowner disagrees, I would like to go back and fight with Central Hudson.
You mean with regard to these 4, not with just regard to routine pruning trees?
No, just regarding these 4.
These 4.
With all due respect to the homeowner, if a tree is not going to be viable after pruning, there's not a lot that they can do about it.
And
is there? Central Hudson is going to prune them one way or the other, and if their pruning is basically going to kill these 4 trees, then does the homeowner really have recourse there? I guess, and also part of my question is why are we approving their removal if Central Hudson sort of has Trump authority over this anyway?
Because this is Central Hudson's opinion. It's not an arborist. It's not an arborist opinion. It's Central Hudson being heavy-handed and saying, we think these trees are not going to survive, which may be true, right? But it's not, getting a second opinion on the tree. It's not having our tree commission weigh in on it, right? They haven't looked at them. It's
tree commission's okay with it.
Oh, all right. Well, that wasn't clear.
I think the assumption is that they're doing us a favor by cutting it all the way to the ground instead of pruning the heck out of it and then letting it die, right? Is that my understanding?
Yes.
Yeah, I think what Lydia's getting to is, and I did meet with the head of the crew is a arborist, is a forester. Actually, he worked for the same company that did our put together our database for a while. And so basically, the action here is, if Central Hudson just prunes them and the homeowner prefers to leave the tree there, if the tree does die in the next year or two, then it's going to be up to the homeowner to have it removed.
But then it's their decision.
Yeah, it's their decision.
So again, I made an amendment to the motion. Do I have a second? If not, we'll move on.
I'll second Gary's amendment.
And you know what? And I think it's fine. I think you're right. We should make it. People are concerned. I'm going to vote to approve.
Okay.
So you're saying that it's up to the homeowner to say whether or not they want this overly pruned tree stump still there, or if they want it just taken down on their behalf.
Correct.
Okay.
And if it dies, they own it.
Yes.
That's right.
I just want homeowner involvement into this process, since it's their tree. Okay. All right. Any other discussion? Show of hands and aye. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, unanimously approved. All right, Rick, anything else?
That's it from the tree commission.
Great. Karen, comp time buyout request.
Okay, we have a comp time buyout request for one of the employees of 100 hours. And he did, and like we had this comp part of the union contract that they can accrue comp time. So we have a request for somebody who has not taken a lot of time off because of just the village having people off and not being able to take the time off. And now he wants to buy out 100 hours of the comp time. And then I did speak with Gary, I guess whoever's going to be on talking and negotiating with the union on the new contract. You might want to go over some of these items. I mean, there's just a lot of avenues for people to accrue a lot of hours that just can become a liability when we have to go and pay them out.
Yeah. But right now it's approved in the contract.
Correct. Yes.
All right, so I'd like to make a motion to approve the employee comp time buyout as requested. I have a second. Seconded by Trustee Lewitt. Any discussion? All in favor, show of hand and aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay.
So
Thank you, Karen.
when is the contract expiring? It's
May
is it go-
31st.
Okay.
May 31st.
When do we go back to the table?
Prior to that, we'll go back to the table, but May 31st is when the contract expires, current contract expires.
So why don't we decide who's gonna?
Yeah, we
work on
can.
it?
I want to have some more thought on that. I don't want to do that tonight.
Okay. I mean, Lydia did mention that she could help out,
Yep.
which would be good by my lights.
Thanks, Brant.
Okay. Martina, I believe we're going to pass on the minutes approval.
Yes, if we could bump them to the
Yes.
next meeting.
All right. You know, it's been a busy time for you to get all this done.
Oh, it has.
Yep. All right. Karen, treasurer's report.
Okay, the treasurer's report is for the period ending January 31st. The tax collector account ended the month with $488,368.51. The general fund ended the month with $51,320.77. The water fund ended the month with $292,324.76. And the sewer fund ended the month with $585,735.27. Vouchers presented for payment in the general fund total $76,890.51. In the water fund, $50,687.41. A capital project on Hiley Road for $6,354. In the sewer fund, vouchers total $39,493.15. We have a capital projects for the greenhouse of $2,085. The water main project, we have expenditures of $30,920.63, and we have an escrow bill of $1,450. I just want to clarify, in the water main project, we did close on the EFC loan as well as closing on the $450,000 bond. So we did have to pay interest, which was $26,500 on the BAN prior to closing the long-term debts, and then pay for the bond counsel and for the financial advisor. So I believe those should be the last two last expenses for that project. An operating statement will be provided for the revenue and expenditures through February 9th, this meeting. Billing and adjustments as signed off by Trustee Nuniker for water and wastewater. I will ask the board to authorize those.
Second. Or I'd
Okay.
like to make a motion to authorize it.
Yeah. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, I have a couple budget amendments in the general fund. I have a budget amendment for the buildings. We had to do some repair on the solar panel in the amount of $1,312. And we'll take that from contingency. In the streets, fees non-employees, we were a little over budget, so I'm requesting $3,000 increase there and decrease the $3,000 under the streets supplies, which we have remaining funds there. In the sewer fund, the supplies, I'm requesting an increase of $3,000 and then a decrease in equipment of $3,000, as well as an increase in sanitary sewers, fees non-employees of $5,000 and a decrease in sewer equipment of $5,000.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the budget amendments as presented by the treasurer.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.
Okay, and lastly, the budget, the 21-22 budget. Budget requests will be sent out to the department heads and the department liaisons. I've kind of worked with Gary a little bit, and I'm proposing the following schedule for kind of condensing it in March a little bit to try and get most of them done before the village elections, and then go into April with the total budget. So I'm looking to do March 2nd for water and sewer, March 4th for highway and fire, March 11th for police and general, and then Tuesday, April 6th for the board to review the total budget, and then schedule the public hearing on our regular meeting, April 13th.
Okay.
I'll make a
Second.
motion to
Sorry.
make a motion to approve that schedule as defined by Karen.
So are those 6 o'clock meetings?
Yes.
Yes.
They'll all be teams meetings at 6 o'clock.
Second?
All right, so any other discussion?
Karen, you'll send out an email with all the dates.
Yeah.
I will.
Thank you.
I will.
Thank you.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Karen.
I guess I would like to add one more thing. Since we do have some new news this week, which Karen and I spoke about, we've all been watching our, expenditures and income flow. The county has announced this week that not only as we presented before, that we will be whole on our sales tax, but we will also now be receiving, well, that's been a given. That's not new news. That's been there because we're under contract. They have to give us that. The second thing is what was unknown was the growth sales tax. We were always wondering whether we were going to receive the growth sales tax or not. And the county has completed their 2020 sales tax accounting and they're down 4%. And with that, they are going to be delivering to us almost everything that we have received in past years and also in growth sales tax in February of this year. So some good news coming from the sales tax revenue for our village that we don't budget that growth tax. We always keep that over on the side because we don't count on that as part of our budgeting expense. And it's great if we get it, but it looks like this year we will also continue to get our growth sales tax.
Great.
Do we know about the AIM funding yet, or is?
Yeah, the AIM funding has been approved.
Really?
We've already gotten notification and that was sent to all of you earlier. So AIM funding is approved as well.
That's only what, about 15 grand a year or something? Like that?
Yeah. For us, I think it's like 14. You're close. It's like,
I don't
like
think that's
14.
moved in 10
14.
years.
Yeah. But
14,802.
I'll take every bit that we can get. We're not
Yeah.
gonna, turn it away. So, yeah, AIM is approved, sales tax is approved, right? We are going into the budget year with some, we're flushing out some of the unknowns while we're talking about budget. Our health insurance cost this year is down in terms of previous years, but it is still 6%. So that'll be an adjustment that we were able to, that Karen will be factoring into the plan when you get that. Karen and I have also been discussing mortgage tax. The mortgage tax has gone up, because of the recent purchasing of homes in the village. And so there's going to be an adjustment, an increase in the mortgage sales tax that we can put into the budget over previous years as well, which looks like it goes, we might be able to budget as much as like 45,000 this year for mortgage tax. So that's all in our favor, right? Going into the budget cycle.
Is there anything that we've heard about that we've gotten a clear, no, you're not getting this amount of money that we usually get?
Nope. We've gotten the CHIPS money.
Kind of indicating they would cut 20% or 25% or something.
They just sent us the CHIPS. Yeah, go ahead, Karen.
No, go ahead. I believe that's still true, but I don't know if they're going to change that after the March 31st, after the state's fiscal year. So we can call CHIPS and find out and see what the status is.
We just got that letter last week from them.
We got the letter.
The amount of CHIPS money we had, remember?
Right, but I don't know that if we go to apply for it, if they're withholding 20% like they have been doing previously.
Yeah,
right.
In the letter, it was the full amount.
In the letter, but in the letter also said we reserve the right to pull back 20%.
Right.
And if you remember, right, we held our CHIPS money this year in abeyance. We have not spent our CHIPS money in the 2021 cycle. And we're keeping that in reserve for possibly future projects.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's some FYI if we're going into the budget cycle.
Right.
Okay. Department reports. So that just so everybody knows, if you're on, anybody that's on still listening in public, apologize for this meeting taking already 2 hours, but we are through all of the motions and requests that the board has to vote on. The rest are regular reports, and I welcome you to stay, but I would understand if you want to go have dinner. All right, department reports. The police report. Let me read the police report. Total number of incidents in the town is 20. Total number of incidents in the village, 86. Total of tickets town is 5. Total tickets in the village, 63. Total arrests were 0. Total number of accidents were 5. They did have to do some additional coverage for snow ordinance. And there's a complete listing of all of the tickets and incidents reports out on the cloud for everybody to review. Lydia, building, planning, and zoning.
Yep. Hold on 2 seconds. I need to get from one. Okay. The building planning zoning office took in $4,400 this month, so that's exciting. It was a slow month. With the new team in place, we're all getting used to each other. So that will continue to unfold as it unfolds. The outdoor dining task force update, we're having our first meeting next week. I wanted to read into the record who is going to be sitting on that. There will be me, there will be David Miller, the chairman of the planning board, Michael Forlenza, a resident on Livingston Street, 4 people associated with restaurants, John Traver of Samuel's, Luciano Valdivia of Market Street, Fletcher Tingle of the Amsterdam, and Victoria Polidoro of Foster's. And then 2 members from our retail family, John Michel from the comic store and Lila Pig of Winter Sun Summer Moon. When I was sort of constructing this task force, I wanted to make sure that I had restaurateurs from both streets, both Market Street and Route 9, as well as from east, west, north, south. So that seems to have tumbled out nicely. I also wanted to make sure that I had dining establishments that are, you know, that already have outdoor dining, like the Amsterdam, and those that need outdoor dining. I also wanted to make sure that I had those who only had takeout, like Samuel's, versus those who have in-house dining. For the retail, I wanted to make sure I had someone from both sides of Market Street. I wanted to make sure I had a resident from Livingston, because Livingston always has questions and concerns. And then, of course, a member of the planning board. So I feel like the people who stepped up kind of tumbled nicely into that set of hopes that I had. And at 9 people, I think we have maxed out as to how to create a fulsome discussion. And we will be dealing with the outdoor dining rules for while we're in a state of emergency first, and we will get that done quickly. And then we will start hashing out what we can do once the state of emergency is over. And that, I'm sure, will take the time that it takes, and it will have the public hearings that it needs and all of the rest of it. And I will be sure to keep all of you updated with that as it unfolds.
Thank you, Lydia.
And that's all I have. You're welcome. Martina, I'm happy to send you an email with those names if you need it.
Yes, perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Rick, Highway Department.
Okay, the Highway Department has been grappling with the S word. There have been several S word events. So they've been out plowing. Scott did mention that he felt that the salt brine experiment didn't work as well, but we're going to take another shot at it. He did say that the Highway Department has just reduced their salt output by simply just lowering the volume of salt that they've been putting on the streets. They found that they still had effective clearance, ice clearance, and whatever they need to do, with actually just basically choking back on the amount of salt that they distribute on the roads. Tom Johnson has been fogging and cleaning the bathrooms at Village Hall for COVID protection. Christmas tree pickups have been completed. They were out grinding stumps until the S word arrived. And there is a request, they will be making a budgetary request for a new truck to replace one that was damaged in an accident and another one that is breaking down. They also assisted in the setting up of the booths for the Democratic primary and cleaning the booths, and they installed no parking signs and speed limit signs around the village. That's it.
Thanks, Rick.
And don't put your limbs in the leaf pile.
We're not doing brush pickup, are we?
Well, it's never too early to remind people.
Okay. Grant, water and wastewater.
So with water, we got they installed new grates on the Trident units that we had ordered those a few months ago. The fixed the automatic flusher on Morton Road. The Delaware engineering report, phase 2, the draft of it is complete for both water and wastewater, and I'll get that to you. I didn't know if you wanted to pour over that stuff yet, but we're going to have a meeting on Thursday to kind of go through the water piece of it. And this is a good timing because this will set us up for budget discussions for all the plant modifications that we need to consider. We had the generator at the Hiley Road storage tank has been set. The electric is hooked up to the pump house, and Botini Fuel has dropped off their propane tank, but that propane tank is not hooked up yet to the generator, and we haven't done the test yet for the testing company comes in and just make sure that the thing works. But it's basically very close to being complete. So that's as far as wastewater. I told you about the Village Green. That's kind of been an ongoing problem. So hopefully we've got that in our rearview mirror. And also, again, the draft of the Dutchess County Water and Wastewater Consolidation Report is going to cover wastewater as well. So that's basically it. Any questions?
What's the status? They started with the building, with our filtration building?
No. We gave them the you signed the acceptance.
Yeah.
Yeah. And remember, we have to decide which panels we're going to order.
Oh, I
The
thought
lead time for the blue panels is shorter than, are they starting on the other things? No, they're not starting. Yeah, they're not starting on the other things till they get the panels in.
Okay. Have you decided on the panels?
I was thinking the blue panels would be appropriate. I haven't talked to Brian Bacamo yet. You seem to think that was okay also, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they're still transparent.
Right. Yep.
So if they come in, that's a good point. I should mention this to Brian and make sure that he's okay with it. And then I'll get back with Brandy on that.
Okay. All right. Because it is long lead time, Adam. Okay.
Yeah.
Vanessa, environmental.
Yeah, so my report, I think, is filed under the Climate Smart Committee, but Environmental Department, same diff. I'll try to keep it short for this meeting here. A couple items. Last month, we discussed our issue with sidewalks and roots of trees blocking the sidewalks, and I floated the idea of getting a BARD student to look at this and do some research, perhaps exploring alternative ways to finance improvements in this area. And I heard back from BARD Professor Monique Segura, who's a member of the Joint Environmental Committee, and she's interested in the topic and is proposing that in April, this be a module of her class with her students. So I'll have more details. I just wanted to let the board know that should be really interesting. I also wanted to bring back something that was postponed from last year. Last spring, we were planning with the Climate Smart Communities to do a Trees for Tribs planting behind the highway garage, which is a collaboration with our Marist students. And it was postponed because of COVID. Well, we'd like to redo it, run that back. Same plan, just needs to be reinvigorated, and do that for the timing would be in April. But plans would now be set into motion for setting up that planting. So again, the Trees for Tribs is to plant mostly shrubs, small trees, right along the edge of the Landsman Kill behind the village highway garage. And so that keeps the stream banks there intact, lessens erosion from storm surge through the stream, cools the water with shade, and generally filters the water. So that would be a help also in soaking up storm water, which sometimes can wash down the Landsman Kill and flood, especially properties, homeowners that live along the Landsman Kill downstream. So I want to see if everyone's on board for me to pick that project back up for the spring. And one finer point with that project is it does entail the village renting an auger, a 24-inch auger, to pre-drill holes for the planting. And ideally, someone from the highway department is operating that machinery and not me. And the cost for the rental of the auger, because the village doesn't own an auger. I have a private citizen who's willing to donate the money for that rental. But maybe I want to open that up for discussion if anybody had questions.
Last time around, was there an involvement of some students at the high school?
Yeah.
And will they be back or
yeah?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, I mean the plan is to back when we were initially planning this, pre-COVID, I wanted to put a call out to volunteers and make it something that the community could come and help with. But with COVID continuing, the plan is we just want to get these plants in the ground, and we would do it in a socially distanced manner. So we'd still have volunteers, but from the Climate Smart Communities Task Force and from our contacts, we have 2 high school students who are on the Climate Smart Committee. So yeah, it wouldn't be like a general call for the public to come in.
And Rick, you're still good with the highway department operating the auger?
I'm good with the highway department operating the auger. The highway department is also very helpful to the tree commission. They frequently dig holes, help distribute the materials.
Yeah.
So the highway department has been a big help for a long time now in terms of our urban forest and our greenscape.
I agree.
In terms of taking a donation, does it make sense to set up, and I also want to bring up, like, does it make sense to set up a fund for climate related projects? Because it's also come up with the amazing Cecily Frazier, who's giving a talk that's supported by the Climate Smart Committee, where she's going to be giving an online Zoom about composting, and she volunteered to donate any of the ticket sales towards the Village Climate Smart projects. Is that something that we could do? I don't want to say no to donations.
Vanessa, we can take donations. We have done it in the past, and we had set up a separate line on them. For instance, we did it with the Autism Awareness Committee. We took donations in and used that to buy supplies. Okay, so as long as it's a flow through from that aspect, Karen, I think do you agree that it's okay to do?
Yeah, we can set it up and similar to an escrow, similar to like an escrow or a trust account. We also do have the plant a Rhinebeck tree. So I don't know, I think there's like almost 5,000 in that account.
Yeah, we should use that money for prying the trees, right? That's what it's for. It was donated. I know some of the people who donated to that, and they donated to buy trees.
Well, the Trees for Tribs program, we get the trees for free.
No, I'm not talking. I'm talking about for Rick for the tree committee.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think given that we'll have to look at it. That might be a good place if we're looking to install larger trees that the tree commission can't plant over on their 2 days of plantings. There are different kinds of trees that are probably more appropriate. They need to be planted with a spade and other stuff. Maybe that would be a good place to use some of that money, but I'll have to go back and look.
But yes, I just wanted to just remind you that is there. And Vanessa, yes, we can kind of set up an account for that, and then you can kind of provide some of the guidelines of being specific about what you want that money for.
All right, so I'll follow up with you, Karen. That'd be great.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else, Vanessa?
Yeah, I mean, that's it for now. I mean, just on this notion of taking donations, I should mention one of our high schoolers, Esther Murray. She held an online screening of a documentary called Kiss the Ground, which is about regenerative practices in agriculture and building the soil. And she raised $300. So good for her. Yeah, and this is something that's really nice to see the community come out for.
Thank you, Vanessa. All right, fire department. Couple points I want to make on the fire department. The fire department has been very busy, especially the ambulance team, who in responding to a lot of calls lately, and they're really starting to feel the strain on this organization. So I'm thankful we have them. I appreciate all the work that the fire department does. I appreciate our ambulance team getting out in all hours of the night, responding to calls. So thank you for that, because I know it's it's a tough job. Along with that, 34 members of the fire department have been vaccinated with both vaccinations. So that's a positive message from our fire department that I'm thankful that they're being safe and that when they respond to calls now, they can even be safer, but they are still exercising all of the protocols in place, irregardless of having that. And then the last thing I want to talk about is hydrants. Again, I would want to thank the fire department on that last major snowstorm. The fire department put together a task force and they went and cleared all the hydrants in the village, right? And that was just so much appreciated for everybody at the last, so thank you to them for doing that. But we shouldn't expect them to do that. I know in a lot of communities, the firehouse does that. But they are very busy people and we should not expect them to be responsible for clearing the hydrants, especially throughout the whole village. We did put out a request to all of our residents asking them to basically adopt the fire hydrant that's in front of their house and to do the clearing for that. And, there has been quite a few that have been done, but there are still a lot of fire hydrants that have not been touched since even the previous storm, and now we have this latest storm on top of it. So with that, I've been talking to Rick, and I also wanted to, bring it up, Brant. Typically the water department is responsible for this, but it's too much of we're down a person at the water department, and we're down a person at the wastewater department. But I would like to put together a team of people from our staff to go out and help focus on cleaning out the area around the hydrants so that if there is a fire, our fire personnel have access to it. So I have a meeting set up to try to organize a group of our staff people to go out with our equipment and start clearing around hydrants and get that done, hopefully between storms that are coming up. So with that, that's it for the fire department. Again, thank you all for all of the work that they've been doing lately for us. Committee reports. Rick, anything on the tree committee?
No, you've already heard it.
Yep. Vanessa, anything more on the climate smart committee?
No, you heard it.
Got it. All right. Last on the item is personnel January anniversaries. And I'm always like to, again, one of our highway MEO operators, Carl Delfino, who, today was out there again all day long clearing our roads with the rest of the highway crew, has now completed 5 years with the village of Rhinebeck. So congratulations, Carl. And our building and planning zone clerk, Ryan Dowden, right, who's been brought on board. Amazing how time flies. He's now been here 3 years. So thank you, Ryan, for your service to our community. Just a little bit of a comment on Ryan. Our new building inspector, Ken McLaughlin, has been meeting with Ryan and with Brian Conley. And I just want to put some kudos in for Ryan because Ken came back and said, Ryan's got a good handle on what was going on in that office. So that was encouraging to hear that Ryan was really on top of things and has been very useful as we make this migration into our new infrastructure. So thank you, Ryan, for doing that. Yep. Hands about. Yes. And last, all correspondence is on file in the village clerk's office. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn unless anybody has any other business they want to bring up. Second. All right. All in favor of motion to adjourn at 8:30. Aye. Raise your hand. Sounds unanimous. Thank you all for your time and effort that you put in.
Everyone.
Working in village.
Good evening.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Everybody have a good night.
Bye.
Thank you, Martina. Thank you, Karen.
Thanks,
No
Martina.
problem.